Hey everyone, I hope you all are doing good and having a wonderful day. In this video, I am going to show you that how I have found one of the most interesting broken access control that I have seen in this particular year. This is one of those cases where you'll try to understand that okay, why it is important to dive deep into the target, why it is important to understand your target in depth so that you understand how each and every functionality is working. This is going to be an example of that. But before diving deep into this video, if you haven't checked out my previous video in which I have talked about that how you can fine tune a local large language model for generating complex XSS payload for your particular scenarios, then go ahead and check it out. This particular video is going to help you to understand AI to its core and create a model or train a model that is going to work sometimes even better than the GPT and the frontier models on the internet. Right, so if you're interested, go ahead and check it out. The link of the video is given in the description, as well as you can see it at the right side of the screen. And now, without further ado, let us get started. Okay, so as you can see, we are at the application right now, and here we have basically two important roles. The first role is the administrator, and the second one is the HR manager, where we're logged in as J Smith. Okay, also just to let you know, guys, that this is just a demonstration on a lab. We're not doing anything harmful on any real application, but the vulnerability that I have discovered on the client's application is very much similar to what I'm going to do right over here, right? So if you're ever encountering with a application like this, you can simply go ahead and try to implement whatever you have learned from this particular video and see whether that application is vulnerable as well. Okay, now with all of this being aside, let's try to understand the application first. Okay, so from the look of it, you can see that there's not much of a difference between this administrator and the HR manager's user interface, right? Both of them have actually, from the look of it, we can see that both of them have access to almost everything, right? So first thing that we would like to do is we'll try to create a new employee over here. I'm going to quickly fill everything up with the admin account, and we'll just do corp2.com, just for the demonstration. And then we'll just do one thing. We'll just use burp suite here, and we'll click on save profile, and you can see here's the request getting intercepted. We're going to play with this request later on, so let's try to send this to repeater, and I'm going to name this as add public profile, sorry, add new profile. And now let's go back, and you can see that the profile has been successfully added. Right, now let's try to do the same thing with the other user, right, which is J Smith. If we try to go ahead and click on add new employee, you see that nothing exactly is happening over here, right? You can see I'm trying to do that, but you see it is redirecting me to the dashboard. So from here we have understood one important thing is that this particular user is not allowed to add a new profile. They can see profiles, but they cannot add it. Right, now the obvious thing that comes into our mind is to test for broken access control is to grab this particular user's cookie and just swap it in the repeater, and we'll see if whether it is bypassable or not. Right, so we'll just try to go ahead and do that. So we'll obtain the cookies. We are going to send this to repeater. We have obtained the cookie. Right, this is the cookie for that particular user. We'll simply try to go ahead and swap this. Okay, and let's see what happens after that. And you see, the moment we try to do this, we have encountered a 403 forbidden error, which simply says we cannot access this particular page, or we cannot perform this particular functionality, even though the UI is getting rendered. Right, this simply means that from the look of it, you'll feel that this particular application is secure from vulnerabilities like this. Right, but let's try to understand what is happening when we are trying to add or go to the page as a low privilege user, as a HR manager. Okay, so the moment we're trying to click on this add new employee profile, here is a request, right, profile add, and obviously we are getting redirected, so it should respond with 301 or 302. You can see it is responding with 302 found. Right, and if you forward this, you'll notice that we are again redirected. Right, now I don't know if you have noticed this, but if you go to Pursuit and just add the new employee again, do a quick intercept to response, okay, you'll notice that we are getting redirected, but the HTML content is way too large. Even for a small redirect, this is way too large, and this is something that I have encountered in a real world engagement. And this is something that caught my attention, and this also caught my attention. The second reason is that I am seeing something known as page token, which is the exact same thing that I am seeing over here. Right, so this can be something interesting. So what we can try to do is that since we already know that we have swapped the token, we can go ahead and try to copy this particular page token. Okay, and we'll see whether this is working as well or not. Probably this is the missing piece. Right, we'll go ahead and click on send, and you see it is redirecting to 302 found. So just to sum up what happened is that this particular application was not only identifying cookies, it is also identifying the page token, right? So you need to send privileged users cookie, I mean the user's cookie, along with the page token specific for that particular user. And if you'll do that, you'll get this kind of response. Okay, now let's try to go ahead and solve this in through another way. Okay, so what we'll try to do is we'll simply go ahead and remove this location header, as well as I'm going to remove this e tag because I'm really not interested into this, and click on forward. The moment you'll do that, you see that we are successfully seeing the page right now because we have simply removed the redirect header, the location header, right? Now if I try to do the same thing, which is let's try to do pent, let's do test, and we'll just go ahead and click on save. Here's a request, right? This request is getting sent through the low privilege user, right? And if we intercept the response, again we are redirected to login page, right? But judging on the response that we are getting, we are getting a whole bunch of response, so the possibility is high that there is something wrong, even though we are getting redirected to login. So if we just remove this, we can forward the request now, and we'll see that even though we were getting redirected to the login page, the user has been successfully added over here, right? This basically confirms that this particular application was vulnerable to broken access control. I mean, we can just escalate our privilege. Now, the moment I've got this particular vulnerability, I tried to do something interesting, because if we can access this particular application with a low privilege user, will we be able to access this particular application or this particular functionality as a non-authenticated user? Probably not, right? But let's give it a try. So that's what I have thought in that particular case, and then I just logged out and I tried to hit the dashboard page again. Okay, so if you go ahead and hit the dashboard page, if you're logged out, you'll see that we're getting redirected back to the login page again, right? So now what we can do in this case is that we can again do the same thing, because let's try to analyze the request and response in depth. So we'll go to dashboard, we'll intercept the response, right? And again I saw that okay, we're getting redirected to login, but still the HTML content is way too large, and this is where I'm going to just forward the request. And when I did that, I have found something like this. Okay, so you can see we are not authenticated, but I mean we are not authenticated, we're able to see the user interface, but we are still not able to see the employee profiles. This is something that we were interested to see, right? But I saw that there is this feature to add the employee profile, so I said okay, let's give it a shot. We'll try to do the same thing again. We'll intercept the response and we'll simply remove the location header again. And we'll forward this. Here it is. We'll just fill out everything up. So pen testing. So let's say fayaz@bp.tech. Engineering test. Save. Here is the request again. We'll intercept the response. We know that it's going to redirect back to login. Okay, we'll just remove this and we'll just forward it as it is. And this time you see the profile has been added successfully, as well as I can see the other user's profile as well without even authenticated. So this is where I was actually able to turn high level vulnerability into a critical level vulnerability, because right now we can access as well as we can tamper the data, tamper with the integrity of the application, and we can see the employee profiles that compromises the confidentiality of the application, right? So this is how I have found this particular vulnerability, and it's actually very interesting because it needs you to focus on the two things. The main thing is you need to understand how the request and the response is working. The second thing is you need to understand everything in depth, so even if you're analyzing the response, have a look at what the initial request which you think is vulnerable is holding. For example, I saw that this is holding a page token, and then in the response I've seen a token something like this, right, which confirmed that probably there is a vulnerability over here, right? So this is how you can look for misconfiguration if you have ever encountered applications like this. I hope you guys have understood this. If you have any doubts, if you have any issues, feel free to let me know your doubts or issues in the comment section. And now with that being said, keep learning, keep hacking, and thank you so much for watching this video.